Welcome back to First Things First. We're back on track here, and although it's Thursday, we have a special for the audience. Special edition of the best segment in all of sports. And I know you're thinking, hold on, best segment in all of sports? You mean the power rankings in my local newspaper that I perused over a pile of bacon at a breakfast buffet? No, that's delicious, but not the best. Without further ado, it's an honor and a privilege for the best segment in all of sports. It's an early edition, way too early edition of Nick's Tears.
Yeah, it is. And listen, there might be some openings on the committee.
Oh my gosh.
Because when you have a year as successful as the committee did, guys get poached. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a real brain drain when you have another year as the most accurate ranking system. So send those resumes and CVs in. Everyone back on the tiers. That's one of the best things about the offseason editions.
Patriots are back.
Yep. Back on the tiers, briefly.
Don't get too excited.
The Commanders, the Pats, Carolina, and Vegas. I don't see how any of them can stay on that long, but they are back on the tiers briefly. All right, so what type of plan? Is there a plan? So Seattle and Tennessee just were like, no, we have really good coaches, don't want them. Atlanta's like, we could hire Bill Belichick. Why? The Giants are like, Wink Martindale, who cares? And Daniel Jones, let's run it. Is there a plan? I just want to know, what is it, and is there one? Diehards believe, no one else does. Kyler, man, a year removed from the ACL. Oh, he's coming. Oh, Aaron Rodgers. Oh, did you see him hit that hole-in-one? Wait, no one did? There's no video.
What about the one-handed interception?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe two-way player. Sean Payton, once he's removed from having Russ on his back. Kirk, this is the year for the Vikings. Oh, and the Saints. The cap's fake. Derek Carr's good. Listen, the diehards believe, no one else does. Next, stuck in neutral. They'll be fine. But why would next year be fundamentally different than this year? Where these are all playoff caliber teams. In fact, they all made the postseason, but you don't have real Super Bowl hopes for any of them as presently constituted. I know Eagle fans might take issue with that. We can discuss that in a bit. Young, hungry, very dangerous. That applies, in my opinion, to all of these teams. Obviously, they all have young quarterbacks that they strongly believe in. The Bears are about to, assuming they draft Caleb. They either have good rosters in place or the cap space to do it. Most of them have coaches you believe in. I think those teams are all going to be in the trendy, maybe not Super Bowl picks, but, to be very dangerous next season. Prove it in the playoffs, also known as the reverse Chiefs. Doesn't matter what you do in the regular season, we won't believe in you. Any of these teams could go 15-2, and you know what everyone's going to say? Got to see it in the postseason. Don't really care. Well, you know what? That's true for the Ravens, the Niners, and the Cowboys. For the Bills, they'll probably win their fourth straight September championship. We'll see. Next, if the defense can step up, I really like these teams. I really like these coaches. I really like Stafford, and Goff in that dome, with that offensive line has proven that he can be good. And I thought, listen, these two teams played in round one of the playoffs. That was a coin flip game. The Lions then proved they could have beaten the Niners. They kind of blew it. I think the Rams would have beaten the Niners. So if either one of these defenses can step up, they have a lot of youth there, they could be incredibly dangerous. Sneaky big winners. The Cincinnati Bengals. That 2021 AFC Championship game just looks better and better the more Patrick Mahomes wins. Since no one has beaten him in the playoffs since then, no one has beaten the Chiefs in the playoffs since then, the closest the Chiefs have come to losing in the playoffs since then, you could argue, was the next year's AFC title game against them. This past year, you can just say, Joe Burrow got hurt, throw it out. They're the sneaky big winners of the Chiefs' excellence. And then, of course, the 90s Bulls, the 70s Steelers, and the 2000 Patriots all rolled into one. The dynastic Kansas City Chiefs. They have the inevitability of Michael Jordan via Patrick Mahomes. They are building one of the best young defenses of the generation, maybe a la the 70 Steelers, maybe not 7 Hall of Famers like that one, but we'll see. And they have the coaching brilliance from a coordinating level, an assistant coaching level of the 2000s Patriots. I threw that in because I believe it, and also will soften Coach up right before he goes. That is the way too early edition of the Tiers, Coach.
Well, I am really optimistic about this upcoming season based off of these tiers. I think a very good job. I'd say the place I have, and it's just a minor adjustment, that I would move Detroit up to where you have the Bengals.
Wow.
And here's why.
That is a minor adjustment.
It's a minor adjustment, and here's why is they were able to have continuity with the coordinators, which is important. And then there's a culture that's been built there that's demanding, and players don't fight against it, they actually embrace it. And I think collectively outside of the team, there's free agents that are going to want to go there and be part of that. I think that's I think that's a big part of this offseason. They've got the 8th most salary space. They've done a great job with the draft, and they've got an extra draft pick. They're the team that beat the Kansas City Chiefs this season, and then they were up by 17 on San Francisco. They've smashed all these barriers that have been in place, like first playoff game, win 2 playoff games, and all those things that they didn't think they could get through, they now got through. So there's so many reasons to be optimistic about where this team is that I'd say they're the next biggest challenger of the Chiefs.
Coach, that was cogent. That was well thought out. You know what that sounded like? It sounded like it might have been coming from a future committee member. I'm just saying. It's pretty solid.
Are there snacks?
Pretty good.
Snacks if there's snacks, I might be in.
Go ahead, bro.
The tiers weren't bad. And I actually like the title of this tier for these two teams, but I'm still moving them up. I think the Chargers and the Packers, who actually are next to each other, need to move up to the next level. And if you got to drop somebody, drop the Cowboys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not the Cowboys. They're going to do what they do. They'll be good, but I think the NFC is getting better. The Chargers, look, Jim Harbaugh, I think he's going to be good. And I know people got turned off, particularly other teams in that division, by him talking about multiple championships. But when he went to San Francisco, he took a team that was 6-10, hadn't made the playoffs in 8 years, and essentially were the same players. Alex Smith, Frank Gore, Patrick Willis, so on and so forth. And they went 13-3 and were in the NFC Championship the next year, his first year there. So I think they obviously have some talent. They got some things to figure out with the roster, but obviously you've got the quarterback. He is a quarterback whisperer. So I think the Chargers are going to be tough. And then I think Green Bay, I said it a million times, they were the youngest team to make the playoffs in nearly 50 years. Jordan Love is looking like a star. And some of those receivers are looking like potential stars too. So I think both of those teams are going to be serious threats. I think Green Bay will be a threat even to get to the Super Bowl. Wow. I'm not ready to give the Chargers that yet, but I definitely think a playoff team. So I'm moving them up.
So you make strong points there. In a weird way, I think there are the young, hungry, very dangerous tier is more complimentary than the prove it in the playoffs tier, even though it is beneath it. And here's my only issue for the Chargers. And I agree with everything you said about Harbaugh. I have real questions on what that roster is going to look like, more so than almost any roster in the league, because of their cap situation and because their 2 receivers right now, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, are a combined $74 million against the cap, and their 2 edge rushers are a combined $70 million against the cap. So that's going to be in Mack and Bosa. There's going to be some massive changes there, and you don't know if the defense is going to take a significant step back. So that would be my concern.
I have a great take that I'm 80% sure of, and I need to double check with Josh. Josh's live research. Josh, can you confirm that Baltimore plays in Dallas this upcoming year? And I'll give you the take once I get that confirmed. Okay. But I think the Eagles should switch with the Cowboys for this reason. It's a little bit, and this is the other thing. You know how you try to butter up Coach by saying something that's like right in his wheelhouse, and he's like, yeah, I did say that. The way to do it with Nick is kind of take one of his takes, remix it into one of your takes, and he sees the root of it. He's like, that's actually mine. I think the Cowboys' loss to the Packers is like the Bills' loss to the Chiefs in the playoffs. Just absolutely devastating, and it's your peak, and you're going to have a hard time recovering from it. You like that take?
Okay, it's all right.
Thank you. And Josh is going. So here's why I think that Baltimore game is so important in Dallas. I think if Baltimore goes into Dallas, it's already a must-win.
Oh, wow.
But if the Ravens go into Dallas, after Dallas spent last year losing to the Packers in the playoffs, being embarrassed, going to San Francisco, getting embarrassed, having Bruce stack up piles and piles of tomato cans, if the number 1 seed last year's AFC goes into Dallas and destroys them, I think that team will be broken.
Is that week 1? That's the first.
No,
We don't know when it's going to be,
That's
but they
right.
will be. Josh just confirmed it. Meanwhile, the poor Eagles are in the what changed, and I was like, well, man, everything changed. Jalen's going to be healthy, and we got 2 new coordinators. I can see the flip side of the coin that not enough continuity with Jalen, but turns out I kind of like Kellen Moore still, and Vic Fangio I think is going to be great.
Well, listen, I think Vic Fangio is an upgrade. I do not know if Kellen Moore is, and
What happened to Kellen Moore?
I think that, to be totally honest, I think people were so dead set on not giving Mike McCarthy credit for anything that they maybe gave Kellen disproportionate credit for that offense, because I think Mike McCarthy does have some very clear weaknesses as a head coach, but maximizing an offense has not, in the regular season, historically been one of them, except at the very end of Green Bay. And to me, with Kellen Moore, when you leave somewhere and that place gets way better and the place you're at gets way worse, that's a huge concern. But the last point I'll make is this. Jalen, the injury thing to me is an odd one, because it's not like, okay, someone who suffered one significant injury and, okay, you're going to come back from it. It felt to me more like Jalen had an injury that he was continually resuffering over the course of the year due to the style of play, and I don't know that there's real reason to think that they're going to change his style of play.
Maybe move away from the tush push with your $50 million.
Well, Coach, you're talk about speaking my love language. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, maybe just use it a little more sparingly.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.